going to look at how we're going to display data this year in the data room. Instead of having our data posters, we are going to be using clipboards that are hanging around the room for you just to take your protocols that you complete with your teams after you give each common assessment and your data, and you're just going to display it up there, and we'll collect that over time and use it to modify our practice for next year and see how we're doing. So, looking at your common campus assessments, these are different from CBAs from the district. You have a different thing that you've got to do. So, you are going to be using, you're going to be using the Common Assessment Team Protocol Sheet, which is found in the hanging file behind my desk. You'll also need the data, the appropriate data to complete this. So we're going to look at how to do that right now. You're going to go into Aware, and you are going to pull up some different reports. So for the first report, to answer the majority of the questions on the team protocol, go into the your assessment, and you're going to pull up a report that shows how they did on all their standards. So Elizabeth graciously allowed me to use her as an example. So I'm pulling up her class and her test. First, I'm going to go to Elizabeth. Remember that this year you can also look at all the teachers in your department to see how they did on that test. So I'm going to drill down into Elizabeth's class, and I'm going to change it to an SE breakdown. This will show those standards at the top of the page so that we can see how her kiddos did. Okay, it's making me do this again. Sorry, technical difficulty, just a second. Alright, so here's all her kids. Once she has this report up, she's just going to export it to Excel. Open it up, and once you're in here, you'll see that I've already pulled this up, and I'm pretending like Elizabeth's SMART goal to answer number 1, which states which specific students did not demonstrate mastery on the SMART goal or readiness standards on the test. I've highlighted one. So she also has some other readiness standards. We have these two, and we have this one. So we're going to look and see how the individual kids did. Going down, you can see there's a few kiddos who may need some help with this readiness standard, and you just list those kids on your number 1 of your sheet. Okay? So that report is also going to help you with a few other questions on your team protocol, including number 2, which instructional practices proved to be most effective. If they did great on the SE, awesome. If they didn't, you may need to reteach it, of course. Number 5 through 7 talks about what are we going to do for individual kids and how are we going to provide intervention and extension. This year we're really trying to focus on answering all 4 of these PLC questions, and this is going to help you do that. One thing I do want to say about this before we move on to the next response report is I encourage you to collect your own data before you come to PLC to talk with your teammates. Or collect data one day in PLC and talk about it the next day. It'll be difficult to do all of it within one session. Okay, the next report I want to talk about will help you with numbers 3 and 4. What patterns can we identify from student mistakes? Use the incorrect response report. And how can we improve this assessment? So, this is a Aware report. You go into Aware, click on Reports, and then you're going to scroll down and find the incorrect response report. And it's going to bring it up like this. So then you drill down and you find your test once more. Select teacher and leave it unquestioned, because we're going to use this to look at the integrity of our test and look at how if our test is really aligning with our instruction. Please remember that your test should be written before you deliver instruction. So waiting on this report to generate, and we'll open it up. Okay, so you can see that this has her whole test laid out according to question number. Now to answer numbers 3 and 4, we're going to look for, are there any questions where not very many kids missed it? So we taught it really, really well. Are there any questions where a lot of kids missed it? And maybe that was a lesson that we maybe need to reflect on, or maybe it was the question. So I'm going to use these two for an example right here. So number 1, we can see that it looks like the majority of the kids just did really good. So only 5 kids missed that question. Awesome job. Number 2, there's quite a few questions that missed it. So you could go back and you could look at, is this a problem with the question? Is this something that we need to teach differently? To answer numbers 3 and 4 in your team protocol. Those are the reports that you'll need to complete that piece of displaying data. So you just pull all that together, have your discussion, write it down, stick it on your clipboard on the wall. At the end of the 6 weeks, I'll be pulling those down and filing them in a file, and we'll need to keep those for you to look at whenever you're getting ready to review for the STAR test, or we keep them for next year to look at how did I teach that last year, to see how it's going. Now there's one more protocol, which is different. This is the one that you guys are used to from last year. We're only going to use this for district CBAs. It looks like this, the data analysis protocol. This one is a little bit more in depth, and it has you actually list reflection of practice and what your team did and how you're doing overall. So when you're giving those CBAs, I would definitely put it on your PLC schedule to have enough time to look at this. When you're done with this data analysis protocol for CBAs, please post that on the clipboard, and you're done. Those are the things that we're doing. We're trying to do this way so that you're not having to do extra work, having to fill in the posters, and these are things that you're completing in PLC, so might as well display it for everybody to see. So if you have any questions, please let me know, and I thank you for your time.